Jason McCourty, a former defensive back in the NFL, on what he has seen from the Browns with Joe Flacco at quarterback. This from the NFL Network's Good Morning Football.
Late in that fourth quarter, the veteran stepped up and he made throws. You saw the fadeaway pass that he threw to David Njoku and the one to Amari Cooper. And that's what a veteran-led quarterback can do for your team, coming in here. And we know how good the defense is. When you say, can they continue this, my only concern is Flacco in 3 games has thrown the ball for over 40 times. This is a team led by their defense. That is the strength of the team. I don't know if that's the recipe for success for them moving forward, getting into the playoffs, is just continue to throw the ball time after time. This year in the NFL, teams are 33-71 when they throw the ball 40-plus times. The Browns are figuring out ways to win the game. I'm not hating on that. Joe Flacco's been unbelievable. But I think they have to figure out a way to run the ball a little bit more and lean on Myles Garrett in that defense. But just watching Joe Flacco straight from the crib to go out there and just throw the ball around the field has been so fun to watch. 38-year-old. I played against Flacco many a time. So to think now I'm sitting at this desk talking about how he's out there balling is fun to watch.
Actually, I think Kevin Stefanski would love to not throw the ball 44 times, but the run game, they averaged less than 2 yards a run. I think it was 18 carries, 28 yards. That's like running into a brick wall and expecting something other than to bounce off of it.
Yeah, they still have, I think, something to figure out in this run game. I mean, I do think a big part of it is, like, you look at what they're running now, right? The offense is very different than it has been for most of the year. They're basically running Gary Kubiak's offense from 2014 that Joe Flacco excelled in. And Browns fans, of course, have seen this before, right? This is basically what Kevin Stefanski ran for Baker Mayfield. It's basically what he ran for Jacoby Brissett last year. The difference in those seasons was the Browns had a guy by the name of Nick Chubb out there leading their rushing game. So I think this, to me, is arguably the point of the season where they miss Nick Chubb the most. But it's not just about Nick. It's also about the offensive line at this point. I think that has just as big of a part to do with this run game kind of falling apart a little bit. I think they can still get it back. But you look out there yesterday, they were down to their third center at one point. Wyatt Teller was the last man standing in terms of their starters. They've lost 3 starters at tackle. They're down to tackles 4 and 5 now. And that's a tough assignment. That's tough for this, unit. Even though Bill Callahan is a wizard and a magician, like those guys always talk about, I think both of those things, losing Nick Chubb and all of the offensive line injuries, have a huge part of that game. And yeah, I mean, it's not ideal, I think, in those conditions to have to throw the ball 44 times. But the good thing about Joe Flacco is because he's a gunslinger and has that mentality, he can still move the ball down the field. And I think we saw that that's not always a given, right? It wasn't with DTR in some of those starts this season. So that is definitely where Joe gives them a leg up, I think.
And again, they'll try big personnel. They'll try to figure something out, but clearly it wasn't working. And Kevin Stefanski, to his credit, realized Joe Flacco throwing the ball 40 how many ever times was going to give him the best chance to win. And it proved out to be the case against the Bears.
Yeah, and I think there is something to the you don't want to outsmart yourself, right? And if it's bad weather, yes, running the ball is going to be effective, even though people expect it. But I do think there is something to that, and kind of giving them a game plan that looks a little bit different. And yeah, I'm curious to see how those like jumbo packages kind of evolve for them, especially depending on what's going on with Nick Harris. He did come back in that game, but of course Nick has been there in that fullback role. If you look on the Browns roster, he even has center/fullback by his name now. Kind of a cool story there. But when he has to play center, that totally changes up how those packages look, and you lose something there too that has been super effective all season. It changes things all around the line for Harrison Bryant, everyone. So I definitely am curious to see what that's going to look like going forward, depending on if Ethan Poston can come back, if Nick Harris is hurt, and all of that.